Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide. It is Christmas week, and for this week we are going to be racing in the Group 3 machinery around Suzuka Circuit in Japan. 10 laps to get round, tyrewear at times 7, fuel at times 2, racing soft and racing medium tyres both available, both of which are going to be mandatory in this one. BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and the slipstream is real. Now, fairly interesting settings, I think you would agree. Nice to have two different tyre compounds available, both of which are mandatory. And the first thing that does kind of pop out to you is times 7 tyre wear on the racing soft tyres. That is going to be problematic, certainly by the looks of it, and we'll definitely be taking a look at that over the course of the video. But before we get started, I just want to say that I was kind of struggling for time in this one, so it's not quite as comprehensive as we normally go into it, but I do think we cover all the elements nicely over the course of the video to get you prepared for this one regardless. So first up though is the test car. We are going to be using the Nissan GTR from 2013. Now, I am reliably informed by people who are much faster in this game than me and who had actually done some testing prior to the week starting, that this is going to be the car of choice. If not the car of choice, it certainly should be competitive. Now, the way I see it is that with the settings that we've got, there should be a number of cars available. I don't think this car is the best on tyre wear, so with tyre wear being a little bit of an issue, I think there may well be some other cars that come to the fore. But we are going to be using the Nissan GTR from 2013 as our test bed. And first up is these soft tyres that I mentioned just a little bit earlier. How much longevity, how much life can we get out of them, and what sort of performance? Well, they're not going to last very long. We're about 3.5 laps into this run here, and we have burned through 75% of the grip on that front right. And it's a very tricky stint in the soft tyres in this one. 4 laps is the max you're going to get out of this GTR. Now, that's kind of if you're pushing normally. If you're saving tyres, then I think the 5th lap might just be possible. But the number of laps you're going to get out of the soft tyres is going to depend on the car as well. I think there will be some cars that will be able to do the 5 laps, but I think for the majority of cars it's going to be 4 laps. And to be honest with you, if you're on the pad and just a little bit rubbish on tyres, you might even be looking at just doing the 3 laps on the soft tyres, which is not a lot, because that's going to pose you problems on the medium tyres as well. But before we go into the medium tyres, let's jump into the pits and take a look at the pit loss and the fuel situation. So fuel is no issue whatsoever, which won't come as a surprise with only times 2 on the fuel. But the pit loss for Suzuka is actually a little bit shorter than you might first expect. It takes about 18 seconds for the car to get in the box, doesn't take them that long to get the 4 tyres and wheels changed, 4 seconds, and you're back out onto the track after about 19 seconds. Now, you do want to be careful on the pit entry. It's very easy to kind of hit the barrier on the left hand side, and of course be wary of that white line as you exit. But 19 seconds is around about what you're going to lose for making a pit stop. And if you've seen there, we had a little bit of a moment, so yeah, be careful. Your tyres might not be quite up to temperature either. But what's quite interesting about that pit loss is that if you're standing at the front of the grid on the soft tyres and you're only going to get 4 laps out of them, then there's a pretty decent chance that you're going to be pitting back out into some traffic, some medium tyre runners who are maybe around about 16, 17 seconds behind you at that point, and that is going to be a factor in your strategy and definitely something to bear in mind. So let's move on to talk about the medium tyres, and quite an unusual sort of twist, quite an unusual situation for a daily race C. You're actually going to be using the medium tyres, or the harder compound, for longer in this race than you will be the soft compound, which is quite an unusual scenario for Gran Turismo. Normally you would be able to kind of use the softer compound for maybe 2/3 of the race, and then you do the bare minimum laps that you can on the harder compound, in this case being the medium tyres. But for this round, because the tyre wear is so high and you get so little laps out of the soft tyres, you will actually be spending more laps on the medium tyres, and because that tyre wear is also quite high, you're also going to be suffering some pretty decent performance loss on the medium tyres as well. Now, interestingly, we did a bit of a duff job on our first lap on the medium tyres. To be honest with you, this was not a very clean run all round, but if we look at our laps 7 and 8 at 159.6, not a million miles off what we're doing on our second flying lap on the soft tyres. So the degradation is very high on the soft tyres. They're only going to be, within, after about 3 laps, you probably going to be sort of round about level with the medium tyres. Now the medium tyres will do the 6 laps or the 7 laps, whatever you're going to have to do of them, but you're definitely going to suffer some performance loss over the course of the stint, which is also fairly interesting. Now, that's all the kind of strategy elements, the soft tyres, the pit loss, the medium tyres. For me though, the biggest element of this one is going to be survival. We're on a tricky track. Suzuka is a track where it's very easy to get it wrong. You're going to be driving a fairly tricky car if we are going to be in the Nissan GTR, but although there might be other cars that come to the fore. And we've also got this extremely high tyre wear, which means the car kind of changes quite a lot over the course of every lap. So you've also got to be, very wary of the change in the tyre grip in terms of, coming into a lot of these tricky corners. And there's so many corners at Suzuka that will just have you off the track and spinning around before you know it. So for me, whilst the strategy will be important, the key to this one is going to be survival. You're going to see so many people off the track and spinning. So if you can be one of the people who don't spin, then you should be in fairly good shape at the end of the race. Finishing time for this one coming in at a rather healthy 20 minutes, which is always nice to see, much better than the 17 minutes that we had for the Group 1 at Le Sarf last week. So let's move on to the strategy options. This is the 5 strategies that I think are available to you, and I shall talk you through when I think you should use them and the kind of pros and cons for each one. Now, the first strategy we've got there is 3 soft and 7 medium. Now, some people are going to be very bad on tyre wear and are not going to be able to do the 4 laps on the soft tyres. It could be car dependent, could be input device dependent, or you might just have a bad driving style that looks after the tyres. But if you're starting on the soft tyres and you're going to do this strategy, you're best used if you're starting at the front. The only problem with this though is that as you make that early pit stop, you are probably going to be pitting into traffic. Some medium runners are going to be doing 6 laps, so you're pitting 3 laps before them. There's a fair chance you're going to be pitting into that traffic. Next up, we've got the 4 soft and the 6 medium. Again, use this if you're starting towards the front of the grid and you're good on tyres. You can maybe get the 4 laps out of the softs. Again, there's a possibility you're going to be pitting into traffic, but probably not as bad an issue if you're only doing the 3 laps. 5 soft, 5 medium. Big tyre saving required on this. It's probably going to be car dependent as well. Some of the lighter cars out there like the BRZ or maybe the Porsche might be able to do this. Should help you to avoid traffic as well if you can do 5 laps on the soft tyres. 6 medium, 4 soft, probably the optimal strategy. It's the best tyre balance. It will give you the best kind of tyre performance throughout the course of the race. But you are vulnerable to the undercut in this one from people who have stopped early on the soft tyres, and then will have better mediums than you for the second part of your stint. And 5 mediums, 5 soft, good undercut potential on other medium tyre runners. Bit of tyre saving is going to be needed at the end, and you're also going to be vulnerable at the end as your soft tyres are going to be in pretty bad shape. But that's enough of the strategising. Let's finish off the video with a little bit of a lap guide in the Nissan GTR 2013 coming down towards turn 1 at Suzuka. So just before the 50 metre board, get it into that first curb, don't run wide, you hit the AstroTurf on the outside, you are a goner. You will see so many people off at turn 1 on the first lap, I think, this week, and also it just carries a danger throughout the entirety of the race. Coming through the S's, it's just all about getting your rhythm right, getting your line right. If you go slightly off line in the S's, then it kind of compromises you through the entire section. Come up to Dunlop curve now, again, get onto that curb there. Once you get confident to accelerate out, you're heading down towards Degner 1. You're looking for the 50 metre board for Degner 1. Take a chunk of curb on the inside, but not too much or it will upset the car. And then just before the end of the curb, brake down into second gear, get it in nice and early into Degner 2, and we're on the run up to the hairpin. You're looking for the curb on the right hand side, just before the end of the curb, down through the gears, try to get it into the inside of the cords. A little bit of camber there will let you round. Earlier on the throttle you get here, you carry that speed all the way up to spoon, and you will be at an advantage. Coming up towards spoon, they call this a straight, but it's not really. It's very easy to sort of actually drift wide and go off the track there, so don't do that. Just before the 50 metre board there is a grey path, that's what you're looking for as your braking reference for spoon. And get it into this curb here, over the crest of the hill, hit the throttle, you carry this speed all the way down to 130R, which you can take full throttle, but in the dirty air and as the tyres wear, maybe give yourself a little bit of a confidence lift, certainly in race trim, because you do not want to be running wide. Easy to catch the AstroTurf in the wrong way, spin round, and then you have dirty tyres for the braking zone, just around about 120 metres for the chicane. Chunk of curb there, chunk of curb there. You can normally be very liberal with the curbs at Suzuka on the chicane anyway. And that is sort of a lap guide of Suzuka in the Nissan GTR 2013. Do check out some of the other channels out there. Tidgney usually does a lap guide in his video. Digit will do one. Mr. MCA will do one as well if you're looking for far more comprehensive data and information, and probably just all-round better tips than what I'll ever give you on a lap guide. But that is pretty much the video wrapped up. I think it's a good race for Christmas week. I think there's strategy in there. There'll be a little bit of drama with people spinning, tyres going off, hopefully the potential to use some different cars as well. Very much looking forward to it. Do join me for some live streams over the course of the week if you can. Be great to see you in the chat. Do say hello. You'll find it a friendly place. Everybody's really nice. But yeah, hopefully it's been useful in some way, shape or form. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button if it has been. Thank you very much for watching. I shall catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.